Ever notice someone dragging large black bags through the hospital lobby and wonder who they are? That, my friend, is a medical device rep. Welcome to Device Guys. Your hosts, Brent Lloyd and Jason Doliak, bring 50 years of combined medical sales experience to the table, sharing insights, stories, and a behind-the-scenes look at this fascinating world. Enjoy the conversations.
Hey everybody, I'm Brent. He's Jason. We're the Device Guys. Welcome to the podcast. Jason, how do you do?
I do quite well, buddy. How do you do?
I do just fine, thank you.
Do I look different today?
You do look different. I know why.
You know why?
Yeah.
Just walked into a new decade of life.
The big 50.
50.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. 8/25/75.
You know what I'm kind of sad about? You had to remind me of it today.
Oh, God. Well, it happens.
We were at the hospital earlier and we ran into each other and you had to, that's how good of a friend I am.
Oh, yeah. The most important thing to
You're
you.
one of your favorite people, and you know that. But as a guy, I'm not really somebody that's tracking birthdays.
I do not hold you responsible for tracking.
But I just texted my family, and they.
Oh, it's blowing up. I'm already blowing
up.
Yeah,
expect some calls.
Uncle Jason's getting some calls. I got it from everybody.
Uncle Jason is.
It didn't take 90 seconds. It was. Bap, bap, bap.
Are they already there?
Oh, they're here. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
They're great kids.
They're better than me.
They're going
to put it.
You
Now they're going to put it in
them
their
up.
phone, and they're going to be able to.
That's what you do. Mm-hmm. That's what you do.
No, but happy birthday, buddy.
Thank you.
Come on now.
Thanks.
50 years old.
50 years old. We made it.
I remember when I was 50. Oh, guess what I did this weekend?
Tell me.
My wife's 40th reunion.
Ooh.
So there were some people older than 50 there.
Quite a bit.
Big fun. Big fun.
Yeah.
No, but happy birthday.
Thank you. Did you keep it together over the weekend, or how'd that go?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Late nights, early mornings.
Late nights these
days. Had the golf tournament. That was hot. That second day I didn't play so good, so I had a really early tee time. It was a little quick turnaround. Mm-hmm. The watch told me my sleep score was not very good.
I hate it when it says that. Yeah. Well, let's get into it, man.
Well, there was something we were going to talk about.
Yeah, we are. We're going to talk about
this is episode 13. People must know that we shoot these like two at a time.
Two at a time, yeah.
So we did an experiment the last time. We had we had Dr.
Affleck.
Then we had Dr. Pereira on.
Mm-hmm. And so guys, Diego, Zach, I don't know if you watched that last podcast, but the only way that it could have been more uncomfortable in the beginning of that podcast is if our guests had blindfold and rags in their mouths. That's the only way it could have been more uncomfortable. We thought that it was going to be the two of us in the shot.
In the narrow shot.
In the narrow shot.
And then we thought it was, then when we introduced the guest, you were going to pan out. But what happened was they were sitting there.
I tell you what we should do from now on.
What?
Black bag over the head.
Yeah.
Black bag over the head.
Al-Qaeda.
And we just, total Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Hey, Brett Parkin, welcome to the show.
Just reveal. Just reveal. And then he's like, the lights.
Oh, my goodness.
That is awesome.
We're sitting here talking to each other, just doing our cold open, and this poor guys.
We're talking.
Can they see me?
And then Sarah, like they were smiling, but they were sitting politely with their hands in front of them.
With a gag order.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a little awkward.
I've seen more comfortable people zip tied in the back of a squad car.
Well, but no, they thought that's good. They thought that they were off camera too. So I'm just glad one of them didn't do something, like pick their nose.
Yeah,
But anyway, I don't know what the impetus was behind that decision, Diego. But I mean,
it was great to watch. I'm watching this. I'm like, oh no.
Well, and I know that most people listen to the pod,
which is a gift.
That for Dr. Affleck and Dr. Pereira, it's a gift.
It's a gift.
That was an awkward moment. An awkward 5 minutes for both of them.
I don't think anybody knew the difference, but it kind of bumped me.
Yeah, I was put off a little bit. It was, in fact, when you and I, when it came out, and then you called me and said, "Did you watch it?"
Yeah, dude, we love you. We love you.
We do. We do.
It's
And you're,
all right.
you're our partners.
This is great. We're hey,
This is in
growing
the
pains.
interest of tough love and good, positive feedback.
Look, we don't know what we're doing. Come on.
But you can see today, we
changed
have
it up.
we got the black tablecloth. We've got a guest. It's another device guy that's going to come on.
Actually, it might be Casper the Friendly Ghost. We don't know. He's sitting there right now.
He's sitting
What
there
do you
right
think,
now, but
buddy?
he's not on camera. No one knows. This is not awkward. But we're going to like this guy. I think he's breaking barriers. He's going to be the first non-cardiology guest that we have on the
I'm
show.
excited about this because I don't know anything about the world of orthopedics and how that business runs, and I'm excited to talk to him.
Well, let's bring him out. This guy is he's a good friend. He's a good friend of the podcast too. I'll tell you that. Brett Parkin, welcome to Device Guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
How do you do?
I do very well. How do you do?
Oh well,
So
Did I mess it up?
do really
No.
well. It's Jason's birthday.
it's my birthday.
Happy
I
50th,
made it to 50.
Yes.
I'm at least halfway, right?
Well,
I think you
I mean,
passed.
I don't-
I think you
yeah.
passed halfway.
There is no chance I make it to 100.
no, but if you get a sleep score of 96 every night, you might.
I do. I've been high 90s.
You could get
high
there.
90s
High
lately.
90s is pretty good. But Brett, we're happy you're here.
Thank you very
You
much.
are the first non-cardiology guy on Device Guys. You and I have a little bit of history together. Back when I broke into this industry, I was in orthopedics, and that's
Yes.
where you and I crossed paths. And then we found out eventually that you went to high school with my wife,
What a treat.
and I got my fill of you this weekend.
And you know why I'm on the podcast. A 40-year high school reunion. You run into the wrong people, and
Yeah.
so
That's where I recruited him.
You were trolling for guests at the reunion?
100%. But we knew we were going to have. I mentioned this
we
name.
tried
You
a
have.
time before, and it didn't
Right,
work out.
right.
Yes.
No, this is. I don't want
perfect
to.
timing.
I don't want to put pressure on you, but I know this is going to be a good podcast.
Thank you. I hope I can deliver.
You will. You will deliver. Why don't you tell the people who you are?
Sure.
You know what your job is now, and we'll just start there.
So, Brett Parkin, I am fortunate enough years ago, 1992, graduated college, University of Utah. Fortunate to watch Michael Doliak play. First time meeting Jason, but have been a fan on the pod. But I was a huge fan of your brothers and applied to medical school. Didn't get into medical school anyplace. So figured I better reinvent myself because I'd put myself through college pushing a lawnmower around.
I like that.
And so no medical school, and then it snowed, so no job. And fortunately, I got an opportunity where someone said there's this industry called orthopedic sales, where you go into surgery with the physicians and you help them with the instruments and the implants, and you,
This is right out of
job.
right
This
out
is
of
right
college.
out of college.
So let's digress a
November.
little bit. You didn't
Yeah.
get into medical school.
No.
You're one of the smartest people I know.
No, I don't know. 1992, I'd made bad decisions, I'm sure, and but
Well, I don't want to rub salt in the wound, but we had a guest on here, Dr. Ed Miner.
Mm-hmm.
He only got into 5.
to 5.
Yeah,
I
out of
think I was
college.
0 for 20. So
That is awesome.
no.
Well, so who told you
sliders.
about the job? Who told you about this,
I
that
had-
this was a thing?
In my path to medical school, I had worked in a lab. My father was an ENT surgeon, so I had worked in a lab. We did tests. My dad helped develop the cochlear ear implant. So cochlear implant, you put a pedestal on the back of people's skulls, and it first was only approved for adults. It was not approved for children. So I helped him with a research project where we put those pedestals in cats' skulls. And then and we fed him a series of antibiotics with Dr. Blaybaum. I don't know if you guys, great, amazing guy from the VA. And then we sacrificed the cats. We cut out the pedestals, and we saw how the bone grew into and onto the implant. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of my taste of kind of a little bit of what I was going to do. But in that process, I worked with a lady from Smith Nephew. And we became friends. She called me out of the blue, said, I heard there's a job in the orthopedic side of our business. I was like, what's that? And I really didn't care because I didn't have a job. She said, go interview with this guy. So I went to a little strip mall office on about 33rd South and Main Street. And
That's kind of where we were near there.
And we there I interviewed, and before my interview I listened to him talking to a rep that was frustrated that was working for him in Las Vegas. Said if he didn't get help tomorrow he was going to quit. So in my interview, one of the questions, would you go to Las Vegas? I said I'll go tomorrow. Needless to say, the next day I was on a plane.
You literally went
the next day.
The
next day. I took the job. I went on a plane. The guy I worked for, great guy, interesting gentleman, but he had other commitments in Vegas. And he dropped me at the hospital with a tray full of instruments to do a pretty simple procedure to me now, which is just a hip fracture that's not displaced very much. So you're not going to put a total hip in it. You're just going to kind of put a plate and a screw in it, what they call a hip screw. And simple now, then I'd never been in other than an animal operating room. I'd never been in a human operating room.
You'd have been terrified.
I walked into the operating
Actually, you probably
room.
didn't know what you didn't know at that point.
No, I didn't know what I was
You hadn't even
doing.
been through any training.
No training. This is day one. I turned in the tray of instruments. Luckily, I was given a surgical technique, so I had about an hour for them to be sterilized. The instruments a little different.
Tell
than today.
Jason what that technique book is.
Technique book you'd open up the technique book and it would take you step by step through the orthopedic procedure.
For the physician.
It works both for the physician and for the rep. It's very nice for reps. We can watch. That tells us exactly what the steps are, but it's this thing we would give to the physician to say, "Here's about our hip screw." So I spent an hour kind of looking at that. I walked into the operating room. It happened to be this surgeon's very first case out of fellowship.
Oh my God.
So you're 22, 3?
I've been on a mission, and then I need an extra year to finish college. So I'm probably 24. Wow. Yeah, and I started with the picture open, pointing at pictures out of the book. Like, I think you do this next, and looks like you do this, and use this. We were doing great. And he asked me, I can still tell you the length. The screw that goes up through the femoral neck is called the lag screw. He asked me for a 80 millimeter lag screw. Well, if you go back to 1992 in computers, the little etch marks, and if you're nervous and you're 24 and it's first time in an operating room, a 6 and an 8 look really similar.
10 centimeters, 20 centimeters.
So I opened up a 60. He didn't even measure. He just looked at it. He said, "This is not an 80, but not so kind." And then kindly tossed it back at me. I ran over, opened the right screw, and that was my first case in orthopedics. I worked for Smith Nephew for almost 2 years in Las Vegas.
Hang on. So after that first case,
Yeah.
you decided to go back? You decided you were okay with doing that?
To be honest, I sat out front and looked at the want ads and thought, what are my other options as a 24-year-old kid? What else am I doing? But then, to be honest, I'm so grateful I didn't just trust the first experience.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it. I just got into it. My wife was going to school in Utah, so I was by myself in Vegas. I put every set together. I got ready for every case. I went and learned every case. The surgeons were good to me. Orthopedic surgeons are good guys.
Yeah.
And they had me to their house for dinner and fed me, because I didn't have a wife. I was working 18 hours a day and just loving it, and learned to speak orthopedics.
That is awesome.
And,
That's the way
awesome.
That's the
It
way you do it.
was-
Is you take a chance. I mean, this
Yeah,
job's about
it was
availability and accountability, and you said yes. I'll do it.
It was. I feel blessed because easily that day I could have found some other ad and taken a different route and never made what I did. But sometimes you hit a crossroads and you make the right choice.
So
know
that
what-
first 2 years in, I'm sorry, that first 2 years in Vegas was under an independent distributor?
I was under an independent distributor who had about 7 states, and then he had one guy down there who was a great guy, had married a woman with 4 children, and they had a 5th. So he was pretty busy, and I had myself and my dog, and so it was a perfect combination. I was happy to work. I didn't have a whole lot else going on, and he was happy to have help. And Vegas in 1993, 94 was the fastest growing city in America, so there were orthopedic surgeons moving into town. So the great thing for me at that stage of my career, a lot of people think we just sit around in an operating room. But the real part and the tricky part of our job, as you guys know, is going in to surgeons in their environment and trying to sell them something or get them to use a different product than what they're used to using.
That's the art of that job.
Well,
That's where the quan is made, right?
Right.
That if you can help move business.
What are the differentiators in the orthopedic space for something like that procedure you talked about, the lag screw or the hip plate, or what are the differentiators
They'd
there?
be very small ones, and you'd kind of know your competitors. You'd go in and might know what the guy was using and know, well, hey, I have one other length or I have one other thing. But it's pretty small, to be honest with you. What it really comes down to a lot is the service aspect of the business and the relationship aspect of the business, and kind of, hey, you get a chance, and then you go in and you deliver. And then maybe you get another chance. I like to think of a little bit of water. It gets in that crack, then it freezes, then it expands, then it gets warm again and freezes, and then expands. And so you just expand your footprint a little bit as you get an opportunity at different places. But knowing what's good about your product is nice. And every once in a while you'll have a product that's quite unique. Mm-hmm. And hopefully you ride that pony pretty hard.
Right. For my time in orthopedics, I remember it was really hard to get people off what they trained with.
Very difficult.
They come out of fellowship. They're young. They're still learning.
Yes.
And the last thing they want to do is start experimenting, because that's a variable that they can control. And it probably takes a long time for a new fellow coming out to start giving guys chances with different implants.
100%.
Yeah. So that guy was in his first case out of fellowship. Had he used your implant?
He'd used it in his training, and that's all. It's probably such a simple procedure too that probably hospital said that's what we have, is here and close. But he was a little familiar with it, but his training had been hip and knee specific, and this was a trauma case that he took because I'm on weekend call or whatever, and somebody broke their hip.
So there were two people that knew a little bit about the procedure in that case, and that makes it equals one person.
Yes.
And then you help that patient.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, we got a great result, and that's a good thing in the long run, but it took us a second to get there.
How about the thing that strikes me about your origin story here is that doesn't happen today. A 24-year-old kid doesn't get his first job in what is going to eventually be your career.
Yes.
Like you've stayed in the space. Like you've had a couple of moves, but you've done the same job for 30 years now, right?
Yeah, 30 years since 92, more than 30, 33 years.
No, like we talk a lot about, and people always want to know, how do you get in? How do you get in?
Yeah.
And we've had guests talk about how they got in, and the stories aren't, well, I answered a one ad and moved to Vegas. There are always, a lot of stops along the way. Talk about that a little bit. Do you feel lucky?
Getting in the industry nowadays is significantly different. I was super fortunate and willing to jump. I did have an interesting experience with a young man the other day that came to my office. I've done one other podcast type thing, and I told the story on that about the Vegas thing. He used my lines on me, and I gave him a job in Idaho Falls. And at the end, I said, "Man, you killed that interview. What'd you do to prepare for that?" He goes, "I Googled you." I go, "There's nothing about Google on me." He goes, "Oh yeah, you did this one little thing. I did it for a neighbor as a favor." Anyway, so but I think nowadays getting in, and we would never put a kid in a spot like that. Never in a million years.
Never have.
Yeah, he would shadow somebody multiple times. He would have done training on the computer. He would have played with sawbones. Most likely, he would have gone back to the company's headquarters and done some training. So it's a whole different world. That's cowboy world, right? That's 33 years ago. And it's one of the things, I've been an independent in orthopedic space for forever. So basically what that means is I worked mainly for one company, had a non-compete sign for them. I could do other things that didn't compete with them, but it was just solely a commission business. So I was given a geography, and whatever we sold in that geography, I was paid a commission on in that geography. And then I ran that business according to what I needed, depending delivery people. I used a lot of part-time college kids that ran stuff around for me for years. It turned into good reps in the industry, but they came in and they learned the orthopedic business from the part level, because there's a lot of parts to orthopedics. Like
talk about that to the people that don't understand. Like hospitals, they don't house your stuff. They don't inventory your implants or your instruments. And there's trays and trays of these things, right?
Yeah, we bring them in.
Talk about that whole process.
Like just a primary total knee is 6 trays on average. Each tray has 25 plus instruments in it. And then depending on whether it's simple or complex, and then you're probably bringing 5 big totes, gray or red or black totes of implants in to make sure you're covered.
Like the night before.
Night before, 2 days before. But there's a lot of moving of things around in my business. Like at the apex of my business before the company I work for took me to a direct model. I had 100 employees. I had 14 delivery vans. I had 50 reps that were selling different products for us and 50 people that were helping with the in-house part of the business, doing the billing, getting the sets restocked, shipping things out to other areas in our territory. And, so it's a very instrument labor intensive business. It's not like you guys, I love the thing of you guys, you see the guy with a black thing walking. No, you see me walking through the hospital, I've got a massive cart loaded full with a bungee rolled over, and it's probably my first load, and I'm going back for a second. In my early days, I used to keep my backup parts in my truck outside the hospital, and I worked a lot with an amazing guy named Chris Peters, and he used to tease me if he changed what he was going to do. If something happened, we needed to be more constraining in our implant or something, he'd go, "You got that in your truck, don't you, Brett?" And then they'd time me, see how fast I could run out to the parking lot and get the part out of my trucks. But
do you think Chris Peters would be a good guest on the pod?
You should get Dr. Peters on. That's where I met Brent. Brent and I both kind of I don't know if competed for Dr. Peters' business, but he was doing a lot of the trauma business with him. I was doing some knee business with him, but he's just a great guy, super great teacher, and
I bet he's
gentleman of orthopedics.
I bet. He did my dad's knees.
Oh, yeah.
Every one of my tennis buddies.
Bunch of my aunts,
I've given
bunch
it.
of
He should
uncles.
send us a little thank you note, or if he shows up, bring a fruit basket.
Well, he
for all the
thanked me
referrals.
for years and years as he used my implants. So I'm in his debt. He doesn't owe me anything. Maybe something for you, but.
So in the beginning, when you first launched this business, who was in the company you owned? Who was doing all the negotiation with the hospitals? I mean, there had to be a whole division on pricing, and
That was just me.
that was just you doing
Yeah.
that.
So in the early days when I started as an independent distributor and got my own opportunity, that was 1995, and I had one employee, and I had one customer, and then fortunately Dr. Peters became our second customer. My employee was doing all the work in the office. She was very, very smart and good at things, so I turned her and I asked, "What do you have to think about being a rep?" And Anna Lee is her name. She's amazing, and she went and turned into a fantastic rep, still a rep today.
Yeah.
Still reps for Dr. Peters for the company he uses. And then I hired a secretary to fill that spot, and we grew from there, from 2 customers. But that's basically where we started, 1995.
That Jason and I talk about this a lot. Like, I don't even have a large black bag. My hospital, it's consigned. Like, the company I work for owns the inventory. But
He walks into the hospital like Indiana Jones. That's all he's got is a satchel.
A little whip.
It's literally, you should see my bag. It's very small. I don't have any.
I'm jealous already.
I have a couple of clinicals that have these backpacks, and they're full of stuff, but it's their water, it's their lunch, it's their, we don't have samples. I sell a valve, it's this big, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that I don't have to do that. And Jason's got if you look at the back of his car, he's got the same as you, all kinds of stuff back there. But you providing that service and the inventory and bringing it in, that takes a lot of the burden off the hospital.
Yeah, a lot of the burden off the hospital, and shifts it to us because now you're responsible for a lot of parts, and every piece in those instruments tray has a job. So you're first off checking, make sure every single one of those are good, and then all those implants get lugged in totes, and you're hoping those are complete. So you're going through those. So our pre-surgery routine is pretty rigorous. I mean, you're a good 20, 30 minutes getting your things ready, and kind of sphincter factor. Do I have everything? Once the procedure gets moving, then it just depends on, is it a team of people that have done my procedure 100 times? Then it's easy. You tell some jokes, and and you try to be as helpful as you can, and but those are pretty easy days. But if you have somebody that's never seen the procedure before.
Which can happen.
It happens frequently. I mean, it happened to me today.
These are young scrub techs that are out of school, and they're not just learning your stuff. They're learning Synthes, and they're learning every other company's. They're learning their trays, and so they really rely on you.
The knee I did this morning, she said, I've never done one before, right? So now you're talking him through every single step. Next, he's going to want this. Put this together. Put these things together. So, it's a stressful environment, but like I say again, orthopedic surgeons are such great guys, and the great blessing of ours, like yours, I know Dr. Wisenett. I'm a huge fan. My son played lacrosse with Dr. Wisenett's son, but you build a relationship because you're doing procedures with these individuals weekly, and it's a joy. They become part of the fabric of your life. You become part of the fabric of theirs, and that's, I think, for me, the real blessing of orthopedics. I think what we miss, what I listen a little bit to you, Jason, that you have that we don't get is patient interaction.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's an aunt or an uncle or a neighbor that I sent to Dr. Peters or somebody I see at church, they're always, oh, Brett, tell Dr. Peters my knee's doing great, right? Yeah. But if it's, if it's somebody that, just we never know any patient interaction, which is, I think would be kind of neat.
It's been pretty fun.
Yeah.
One of the cool ones that I always kind of go back to is that we had a guy, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago that got an ICD put in. And one of the contraindications for having a defibrillator is you don't get to arc weld anymore. That's that high EMI source that the device could see it and potentially shock that patient. This guy's like, look, I'm welding. I weld. This is what I do. I'm doing it. So I'm like, listen, let me just come out to your house. Let me just put the wand on. Let me look at the device so we can see what it's seeing while you're doing it. Jumped in from 3 different welders, TIG, MIG, and high output on everything, and didn't see a thing. So you go ahead and keep welding. If you do get shocked, it's going to hurt. I think it's unlikely that it happens, but that guy was so grateful, and that was just fun to be able to do that. I mean, I get called into the ER when you see people that come in that their defibrillator went off, and you get to look at it and say, hey, this is why you got to put in.
Remember, and then you had a hookup because when you broke your bike rack, you had a guy that could weld it back together. Remember that?
Yeah. That's cute.
Good hookup. You're always networking.
I'm always networking.
Always have an angle.
Knock, knock, knock. Hey, remember me? Come on, check this out.
Yeah.
Always a salesman.
Always.
That's funny.
What else do we want to talk about?
Well, so I had a question too. So for their sterilization of those equipments, does the hospital do that? Do you come in days before the hospital does their sterilization?
Yeah. So we're 24 hours before.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then the hospital takes the time, processes the instrumentation, wraps them, and and you're seeing that change. A lot of hip and knee replacement surgeries now happen in the surgery centers, right? When we started, that was impossible. People stayed almost a week in the hospital. Now they don't even stay overnight, right? They'll have their hip replaced and go home the same afternoon. And so the number of trays and all of that you have is important.
This is what you just reminded me what I was going to say, but you guys have this in common where there's so much service. Like the price of your pacemaker is what it is, and the same with your primary knee replacement. But what that gets is the inventory and the follow-up and all these things and the liability, the burden of having everything. And I guess I'm leading to a question about it. What's the relationship with hospitals, with purchasing, with what
interesting,
you do? Like we see RFPs all the time, and we're talking about pricing. How is it in your business?
So for one, I mean, I can't remember a price increase almost ever. Maybe the first few years of our business, but the price continues, to go down. It seems like it's more towards the floor now, in terms of where price is. But where really that what we try to do is become this resource to the hospital, so they look and they go, we want them here. So Brent and I were talking about a funny story. Dr. Holmstrom, who's a great guy out at Tosh, he kind of went to bat for our industry in a big Intermountain call that was kind of talking about, like, how do we reduce things. And one of the things I appreciated that he said, look, he does one day is a total knee day. So he has a rep there all day long that is helping him all day long. He says, and that's his Mondays. On Mondays, I never have a problem. I have a device rep there, a device guy there all day long, and that device guy makes sure my instruments are good, makes sure my implants are good, knows my technique, knows what I'm doing, and my days run really smoothly. On the other day a week, I don't really have somebody that's looking at that. I'm just relying on a busy hospital staff that's hopping around, and I have a lot more wait time in my day. It's just not as efficient. So I think what you're saying is one person gets there, they're used to the flow, they can see ahead, they're not pulled in different directions, and it can be very, very advantageous. And then, you're there on a daily or for sure weekly basis, if not bi-weekly basis, building a relationship.
And that person is motivated to have a great outcome.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. The incentive is for that person to be the very best in the room and to provide the very best experience. Because if he does that, he gets called back.
Right. And a lot of people, sales is such an interesting business because sometimes people just feel like, oh, I'm so great, I can go build this relationship, it'll work. But the relationship part is really important. But if you don't know the base level stuff and you can't answer the questions and solve the problems and make their days efficient and be friends with the staff, and, then the relationship goes away. Right? The relationship is only enhanced if you're really good at your job and they're like, oh, Brett's showed up today. Our day should go pretty good, Right. And I screw up too. I'll be the first one I can tell you, I could name a handful of massive screw ups that I made. Right? It's just part of the business. There's a lot of pieces. There's a lot to the equation. But do I pull my boots on? Do I try the next day? Do I try to make it better? Do I go right? Do I go to that surgeon? Do I take the blame for that situation? I think one of the interesting experiences I had as a young rep is something had gone poorly in the surgery. The surgeon was frustrated, and I quickly just said, hey, that's my fault. I'm very sorry. I'll fix that. I'll make sure that happens again. And we hurried and resolved the situation, maybe lost a minute or two, and on went the surgery. And one of the individuals came to the room after and said to me, like, well, Brett, that wasn't your fault at all. Why did you say that? So I was like, well, it didn't matter at that stage, right? Whose fault is it? Just mattered that somebody was accountable to the physician and said, we're going to do better, right? And we keep moving on the road. So I think that piece of understanding the relationship in an OR, you guys both spend a lot of time, in that environment, and being able to be good with the nurses, be good with the physician, be good with the orderlies and the people. One of my favorite stories in my career is when I first started. One of the orderlies in the hospital, you could have just walked by her, you could have not talked to her, but I got to know her and we joked and we became friends, and she's a little bit older than me, but we had kids doing similar stuff, and well, guess what? Over the years, who got promoted and gave all the POs at the University of Utah for about 10 years, right? This amazing woman, right?
Right.
And so who never had a problem ever getting a PO, right?
Right.
And so I think one of the things when you're in these environments to remember of, being kind to everybody at every level, because
humility, right?
100%.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Yeah. Like you're a guest, you're a visitor there in that room.
Right. I've been invited. They could easily kick you out.
Right.
And that's an environment that has totally changed in the last 20 years, right? You haven't done your certification now. You wear a red hat. Like, there's a pretty big distinction between rep and hospital employee now than what there used to be.
For sure.
Right? You guys have seen that. You're part of the red hat team.
When you were talking about Vegas.
Yeah.
The 90s, I was doing the same thing. In fact, I went down and covered trauma remember Tim Drain?
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That guy took a vacation, and he was our only guy down there. So I went down, and I was, 26 or something like that. And the night before, he took me around every hospital in Las Vegas. Here's the door in, here's the door codes. But you could walk in the hospitals. You could walk straight to the OR. You could open up the doors, and you could walk back into an operating room.
Put on scrubs and put on a hat.
Right.
Hat and mask, and you're in.
Try that now.
Yeah.
How many vendor credentialing badges or services do you have?
I think now I spend I'm 4 different credentialing hospitals to be credentialed.
That's us too. 4.
Yeah. So
I only have 8
the university
hospitals.
just changed though to Green Light.
Greens.
Yeah. So now we get another change. So I'm going to be up to 5 here. I haven't done that yet, but I need to do that. But yeah, that's the whole process has changed, has made the industry a little bit more frustrating. But it's funny, I go back to the first company I worked for was Biomet, and that empowered me as an independent distributor. And that I started here in Utah, and I love their philosophy. And I still believe that when you find the right device company or the right organization that has this kind of philosophy, you win. Biomet's philosophy was the patient was first, right? Very most important thing we dealt with, we worried about was that patient, right? They got a good result. They had good product that was going in, all those things. The second was the surgeon customer, right? And taking care of that surgeon, making sure they were in the early days, we're the most responsive company in orthopedics was their line. But taking it. Then the third thing was what I call the team member, right? The people that sold the implants. And the last thing was quotas and sales numbers and the pressure of, that has now come with a more modern world of device sales. I mean, I can tell you for the first 10 years probably of my career, I knew the number I did at the end of the year. Oh, hey, you guys hit this milestone. All right. Now I get a daily email every day with the company I work for that tells me exactly what we did yesterday. And
Right.
So it's just,
Right.
It's changed and you have to figure out how to adapt. But I still think as like the way you guys have said so eloquently in the different ones I've listened to, if the patient is the priority.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
Yeah.
Right. Those first 3 things you mentioned, you do those, then the volume takes care of itself.
Exactly.
Right?
Revenue takes care of itself. If you deliver a good product,
Yeah.
you care about how you present and what you're doing for that patient and physician when you walk in the door. It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You'll have good results.
So there's a whole other chapter that's going on in your life right now because you've made some, you've alluded to
Well, I'll
a big
tee it up a
change
little
that
bit.
just
I'll
happened.
give you a
Talk
little
about
bit.
where you're at right now with what you can say, and then maybe we'll follow up later.
So, like we were talking about of my organization, so I worked for Biomet for all these years, and Biomet was purchased by Zimmer, became Zimmer Biomet. When that happened, I asked them, all I wanted to do is stay independent, right? Be an independent distributor. At that time, they said, that's great, that's our plan. So that was where they kept me until the end of 21. And then they decided to take our territory direct. So where Zimmer kind of took over everything and make me a direct employee of Zimmer. So I worked for them for 27 months in that role. It was not very fulfilling for me, to say the least. And I sat out a non-compete agreement all of 2024, covered lots of Zimmer cases for free. And then starting at the start of 25, I've started a new thing, picked up 3 or 4 different companies, and actually looked at it a little different. So I don't know how tight the non-compete agreement stuff is in your guys' business, but for orthopedics has been extremely tight. And so we found a handful of companies that were willing to look at the industry a little different and not force us to sign non-compete agreements and let us represent similar products and similar things as long as we gave focus to their product and helped it grow. And so that's where I am, 8 months in. It's been super fun. And
you
right
told me
now
you're working harder than you've ever worked.
I'm working as hard as I've ever worked, but as happy as I've ever been. It's, again, a blessing to love what you do and love the people you work with. I just feel so blessed to work with these amazing surgeons that are, they're patient with us, they're kind, they include us in the process. I think you guys, from me listening, you're wired very much like the good people in my industry, which is
there's definitely a range.
For
right?
sure. But when you're made to feel part of the team, I would just guess, just from listening to 12 editions of the pod, Jason never looks at his day until maybe a long time after and worries about the commission and what I made and what I sell. it's all worried about that patient. Now you think about that stuff later. I'm not going to lie. You have to make money in this business, and finances is an important part, and being a commission salesman is an important part. But your worry is there, and were my customers happy? And then maybe I look, well, how did I do? Did I make, right? That's the way you look at it.
Right.
And it's a different, unique creature, and the surgeons that really learn how to play the game well or learn to make us feel part of the team, right? I mean, Dr. Wizenut has made, Lloyd feel part of the team since day one, right? Mm-hmm. I've interacted with them together, and they could finish each other's sentences, right? It's so cool. That's why his days go so smooth in his OR. Brent would lay down in traffic, right, for Dr. Wizenut, right? And I just think we're unique creatures, and we obviously work hard. We're competitive. We want to make money. That's part of it, but it's second tier, and because we're in an industry that if you really put the focus there, that the second tier kind of takes care of itself.
100%.
So
when you become the guy that your customers want to see in the room, the revenue takes care of itself. Yeah. But you can't go begging for it. You just show up. You be the best guy.
What did Jed say? You can't microwave it.
You can't microwave it. Yeah. There's no quick fix.
I did love Jed, man. He's great.
You guys would get along in real life.
I need a Jed.
Maybe he should take you on like a 100-miler. Would you do that?
I'm not going to do that with him, but
we should probably wrap this one up.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Joy,
you were awesome, and I want to hear how this saga plays out. I know you got a little bit
got some legal issues to deal with.
Before the
once
dust
they're
settles.
all done, we'll come back and tell you how it all worked and give the dirty details of being back and being independent and running your own show and not just for me, it's not just been being in the operating room, it's also been running a business and being a business owner, and that's been a beautiful thing, big part of my life, and giving other people opportunities. It brings a lot of joy. So
that's very cool. We're all very fortunate to be doing what we're doing.
We are.
And working with the people we're working with, and it's awesome.
Couldn't agree more.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for coming on. And everybody, we owe you guys a huge debt of gratitude. Thanks for watching, listening, however you get your pod. Jason,
yes, sir.
Happy birthday again.
Oh, 50
Happy
years
50th.
old. Thank you.
You don't look a day over.
Have you seen my hairline?
50?
Yeah, I look 50. My body's like 85. If you see someone out there without a smile on their face, you give them one of yours. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.